Checking out the Trek Super Commuter Plus 8S. And the S stands for speed. And I was a little bit curious, like what's the 8 all about? You know, this is not an 8-speed, this is 11 speeds going on here. I was actually meeting with Stephanie Jones. She helped me out with the Powerfly the other day, which is a full suspension mountain bike. And that one's the same price. These are both $49.99. Which, you know, it's like, okay, you're getting into the higher priced bikes, but they're really spec'd up. I mean, this is awesome. Even the little details, like check this out. We got double walled aluminum alloy wheel set with reinforcement eyelets, adjustable nipples, black spokes. I love that. It kind of blends in with these nice tubular aluminum alloy black fenders. You get excellent extension, piece of plastic at the end, so maybe it won't get nicked up as much. That's just going to be a little bit more durable, but the aluminum is going to be stiffer that way. And then it's a one-piece design, so you can see the rack, sort of the support arm right here, that actually holds the fender up, and it reduces vibration, that kind of thing. It's a really nice setup. Clean, sleek, and you can actually hang a pannier off the side. Of course, I'm not sure about trunk bags. Sometimes when you put a trunk bag up at the top, you need a bit more of a platform to actually hold that up. So we work our way back up to the front. This is about 24.5 inches. I was measuring the handlebars here. This is Bone Trogger, that's Trek's brand, 90mm stem, and you can see it's inverted, so it's 7 degrees. They've got it flipped, so it's a little bit more aggressive, kind of going down. 20mm spacer here and a 10mm spacer. So if you really wanted, you could move those up and you could bring that stem even more down and create kind of a road bike feel. I love the ergonomic grips. They're locking, and that's going to keep them from twisting, getting a little bit out of sync when you're riding if you're really bearing down. It's a speed pedal X, so you can end up going pretty fast. And in order to smooth out the ride, they've got a carbon fiber fork with a 15mm thru-axle up here. This is not boost. They're using the Schwalbe Super Moto tires. A little bit thicker, a little bit wider, and that's going to help to dampen some of the vibration and give you a little bit more stability. If you see these, they're, again, that's width right there. So 27.5 by 2.4, 30 to 55 PSI. Man, there's so much to talk about here. And the 55 PSI, of course, if you pump them up a little bit more, you're going to get better rolling, I guess, efficiency. But if you bring them down, that's going to dampen some vibration along with that carbon fiber fork. I would consider doing a suspension seat post. This is 31.6mm diameter, 300mm height on this one. I'm looking at the 50mm frame, and it goes from 45 to, I said millimeters, but I meant centimeters, 45 to 50, 55, 60. So they have 4 sizes in this frame. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. Other touch points, the Nebula Saddle, again, Bone Trogger. I'm trying to say their name right. I was actually asking Stephanie, the same rep that I worked with last time, just how to pronounce all this stuff. I think in the past I've messed it up a little bit. So let's come back down to this drivetrain. This was another thing that I'd never seen before. Trek's a real innovator in the bicycling space, and a lot of times you'll have those cheap, like, single tube, like, derailleur protector on the side. This one's so much sleeker, but it's the same idea that if the bike tips over or if you get really close to something somehow, it's going to protect that derailleur. We do have SLX. It's got the Shadow Plus, so this clutch right here. When you click that up, it tightens the chain, which is really handy on a speed pedelec where you're going up to 28 miles per hour. That chain won't bounce around as much, but if it does, you can see that there's a slap guard on top and below that chainstay on the right. Really neat to see that. And of course, when we're going, I'll put the camera down there and you can see the chain does bounce around a little bit. That's the case with most bikes. I think this is 11 to, it says 37 tooth right there, but it's 42 on that extra large ring. So you get a huge range. There is an e-bike specific drivetrain now. I think it's the SRAM X1E. E-bike specific, and it's only 8 speeds. So again, I saw that 8 and I was thinking, like, maybe it's 8 speed. The idea there is that there's fewer steps, so you don't have to click, 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 click. You just bigger jumps because you have motor support in between. But at least with these shifters, with this shifting mechanism, you can push forward, you can pull back, and you can do multi-shift like that. So it's actually a really good setup. We've got hydraulic disc brakes, Shimano M615, 2-finger levers, adjustable reach. So if you're someone who's getting a smaller size bike and you have shorter hands, shorter fingers, you can still actuate them easily. 180mm front and rear, and that's really important. You want to have smooth but strong stopping power when you're going faster. The bike weighs 52 5.3 pounds. This one right here, you know, I'm only measuring this bike. That's what I've got on hand, but that's not bad. And again, front and rear, a lot of times e-bikes will have 180 up front, 160 in the back. So it's nice to have 180s, both front and rear. The kickstand is nice to have, but it's a little bit of a, you know, you can see this is my other camera here. I'm just using it to boost the bike so it stays straight. Without this, the bike kind of tips to the side. You know, and then this is another shot of the standard gauged pannier hanger, and you've got a little clip there, so you could use a bungee cord, or a lot of panniers have a little locking point at the bottom. Really nice to see that. Oh, and then if we come back up to the front of the bike, you can see how narrow the tubing is. I appreciate that. For a bike that has an inset Bosch battery, some of the other ones I've seen, you know, the tubing is just a little bit wider, and I don't want to hit my shoes or my calves or something on this down tube. So I like how narrow this is. You can even see it flex a little bit. It's sturdy. I think it's got rigid properties because of how long it is, but it's also still really narrow. And then check this out. This is the battery charging port. Let's see if I can unclip this. It actually stays in really, really well. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that's where you plug into the battery pack. It uses the same charging port as on the battery on the side of the bike. So you don't have to worry about some sort of dongle getting lost. And you also, I feel like this is pretty sturdy. You don't have to worry about that. Man, it really clicks in good. You don't have to worry about it flopping back and getting water or mud or debris in there when you're riding. And I appreciate that. Although I feel like the door, you'd want the door to open that way versus this way, because something could kind of snag. But it's pretty, you know, it feels pretty sturdy there. And of course they've got their alloy shield along the bottom, the base of the motor, so that if you do come into contact with a curb or rocks or something, they're going to protect that motor. This is the Bosch Performance Line Speed Drive. That's the one that goes up to 28 miles per hour, and it offers up to 60 Newton meters of torque. They rate these motors kind of funny in terms of wattage. So it's like 250 watts nominal up to, I don't know, 570 or, you know, whatever. They don't really say. They're focused more on Newton meters of torque, which is really, I think, relevant here, because you want to get the bike going quickly. And when you're changing gears, the gears are what give you speed versus, you know, just the motor. This is not a hub motor. Of course, that brings weight low and center on the frame. It's exactly what you want. And again, minimal shielding around this. Got an alloy, kind of a bash guard almost. And that's going to keep the chain from bouncing off of track. It's 20 tooth, standard, like narrow teeth. We're not getting narrow wide here, which is fine for this kind of riding. 170 millimeter cranks, Welgo M21. I call these kind of cage style. They're a little bit lighter, but they aren't super large. So a lot of times I'll replace them with Welgo. And then one of my favorite aspects or features of the bike is the bottle cage bosses. So we have seat tube and top tube bosses. And I was asking Stephanie, like, well, yeah, I mean, you could have two cages. And she's like, well, they might fit, but we were actually thinking, you know, when your bottle's horizontal, water can kind of leak out. You could put a folding lock here, like one of those Abus folding locks. And you can actually get those keyed to your battery a lot of times. These ones are AXA, it looks like locking core. You don't have to leave the battery or the keys in when you're riding, which is nice. Just twist that, battery pops up. Oh boy. It's the Bosch Powerpack 500. That's their new high capacity pack. 36 volt, 13.4 amp hours. It's about 5.7 pounds. The older 400 was like 5.4 pounds, so it's really not that much more weight, but you're getting 25% higher capacity, which means more range. And I was looking at the Bosch chart. They have a little chart that talks about, you know, how far can this thing go. And it's like in ideal conditions, it was like 90 miles or something like that. That's the lowest level of assist. You're pedaling, it's flat, there's no wind, none of that stuff. And with these efficient tires, if they're pumped up, yeah, I could really see that. But then at the lower end, it was more like 18 miles. You know, that's in super high assist level, like turbo, climbing a hill in the wind. So that's some idea. I think most people get 30 plus miles. You know, that's pretty comfortable. And that's excellent for an electric bike. And again, just look at where the battery placement and the motor, everything's really low and centered. Very well designed that way. I'm gonna go ahead and try to clip this in. I did notice, and you can see it there, there's this cable and it kind of gets in the way a little bit. And then when you push the battery in, you really have to kind of, yeah, see, I almost have to, let's see, I think I'm gonna take the key out so that the locking core is in the correct position. And then, there we go, it clicked in. So Bosch has a proprietary mount, of course, and they can actually adjust this at the shop. So over time, if you're riding a lot and it's really bouncy and jiggling around, it could start to get a little bit loose, but they can tighten it. It's not just, you know, once and done. I feel like that's really awesome. It's adjustable. This mount is actually backwards compatible to the Powerpack 400, so if you had an older e-bike with Bosch, you could swap the batteries. Maybe you put one in a pannier or in a backpack or something like that. It's really cool to be able to do that. Are you guys okay being on camera? Awesome. Did you have any questions? Like, I noticed you stopped and I just wanted...
We know you. Yeah, we're from Small Planet e-bike.
Oh, you are? Oh, like right over in Longmont.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I was like trying to be polite and like stay off the trail, but now I recognize we got a Prodeco Tech over here, and what is it? Oh, Kalkoff, man. This is a classic one too. I like your kickstand solution. Awesome. And then another Prodeco Tech. Yeah. Shout out to Tom, for sure. Where is he today? Why isn't he out here with you guys?
Oh, because he's all the way down in Denver.
Oh, holding down the fort. Someone's got to do it, right? Yeah. Well, sweet. You know, as you can probably see here, I'm looking at the new Trek. This is the Super Commuter. Just doing a look over. You guys are like e-bike experts. Do you have any quick questions I can answer on camera or something?
I'm pretty familiar with the Bosch. So do you know the price point of this?
Yeah, $49.99. So it's a $5,000 bike. This is a speed pedelec, so it gets to 28 miles per hour and kind of a commuter setup here.
Yeah, the Stromer ST2.
Yeah.
ST1X, I should say, is the same price.
Is it the same? Okay, yeah, that's right.
ST1X,
that's right.
And you can get that with a speed motor.
It's their value-priced e-bike.
Yeah, well, the ST1 is going away.
I know, and it's sad because I really like that bike. Yeah. I think it's inspired a lot of these designs actually with the bigger Super Moto-X. Well, you guys do a great job. I'm gonna jump back in and finish this up, but thank you. It's awesome to see a friendly face.
We recognize your voice as we rode by, so we circled around and we were gonna wait till you're done. But
it's so fun to say hey.
We got to see the review firsthand.
Yeah, you get a little close up. Well, I'll finish this up and ride safe, you guys.
Right.
Okay, so jumping back in. You can see this little magnet. This is like a traditional cycle computer magnet sensor. I guess that's the sensor on the left chainstay. As that passes, the motor controller is measuring wheel speed. It also measures pedal cadence and pedal torque. So those three signals, it does that 1,000 times per second. This is one of the most responsive motor systems that I've tested. It starts and stops very quickly, which I think is important for safety. If you're riding in the city and you're near cars and you need to start and you need to stop, that combined with those hydraulic disc brakes, I think it does a really great job. I did notice pedaling over here, I didn't have any assist on. I just wanted to see how it pedaled. This front chain ring, remember it's 20 teeth, it spins at 2.5 revolutions for every crank arm revolution. So there's kind of a gearbox inside the motor casing in there. And there's a little bit of friction there. So I've heard some people say, oh, it creates drag or something. Oh, it's very minimal. And the rest of the bike is just like a standard bicycle. It makes it easier for shops to deal with flats and adjustments on the derailleur. That's all just standard bike stuff. But there is a little bit more noise if the bike's turned off. And then when you turn it on, that chain ring's spinning pretty fast, and you get kind of a wee, wee, a little bit of a noise that way. When you're out on the trail, if there's a little bit of wind or even just the contact of the tires on the road, I think that fades away and it's not a big gripe, but I do want to be honest and clear about the trade-offs between different e-bike motors. I personally just love how compact that is, how nice this looks. I really think the colors they chose are great, and you can see the black right here, trying to create like a sleek line and then keeping the motor black as well. I feel like this could actually blend in, especially with the bigger tires and those fenders. I also think about the front fender a lot when I'm riding, because as you're pedaling, let's say that your foot's on this pedal and you're turning at the same time, you don't want the front wheel and the front fender so close that you actually hit your toe and get like a toe strike. And I haven't had that issue on this bike. Again, this is the 50 centimeter. It's probably a little bit small for me. I should probably be on the 55, maybe even the 60. But it's doing well enough. Absolutely love that they have integrated Supernova lights. So this front one, it has the fancy kind of LEDs on the side and then a super bright in the middle, M99 Pure Plus, 1,000 lumens. And thankfully it is adjustable, so you can aim this thing down and not up into people's eyes. It does mount to the, I guess this is the stem clamp, and it's not, I guess I was surprised that it couldn't go down a little bit further, and maybe that's why they have the stem angled down a little bit, that 7 degrees. Because, I mean, look at it from the side right here. The casing on that Supernova is actually touching on that clamp, and maybe you flip it. Maybe the light should be down here, but then the wires collide with it. So that is one of my gripes. Okay, so I'm back at the van. We got a little bit of darkness going on in the background, and Stephanie's helping me with the more advanced topics. And I was like, how do you switch the light? And she was like, well, sometimes you get into the shop, or it automatically switches. Here, let's just try to cover it. There, I think it went. I was going a minute ago. Basically, it's such a bright day out here. Yeah, it worked. Well, a minute ago we got it dark enough, and then it switches from that little side pattern to the full-on bright pattern, and it does have sort of a downward angle with those reflective plastic inner portion. And Stephanie also said that in the videos they have the M99 flipped, right? So it's down here, yep. And you can angle it down at the road, and you can adjust it. So that's sort of what I was hoping or thinking, that you can flip that handlebar clamp and get the light aimed. But it's neat that that's automatic, because I was trying to figure it out on the display panel.
Yeah.
And since this is a speed pedelec, I imagine you can't turn the lights off, like they're always on.
It's daytime running. It's part of our safety campaign that we're doing with the ABCs of awareness of always on lights.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Yeah, it's great to get some of those questions answered and just, see this thing in some different lighting conditions. Supernova 3 LED light in the rear. Same thing, it's integrated, nice to have. They both turn on automatically when the bike starts up. So. Even this little bell, flick bell, that's nice to have, a friendly hello to fellow cyclists. There's those grips. Yeah, I think we've covered most of this. Now I'm going to talk about actually using the electric systems. So we talked about the charging port on the side here. It's nice that you can take the battery off and charge it maybe at your desk if you're an office worker. There's a 4-amp charger that comes with this, so it's faster than your average charger. And it's relatively lightweight, about 1.7, 1.8 pounds, easy to take with you. It's not super big, easy to throw in the backpack. And Bosch sells it's like a travel charger that's 2 amps, so it's slower, but it's a little bit lighter and smaller. So, consider getting a couple of chargers. Being able to lock this bike up at a rack, not really have to worry about the rear because it's just got like a hex wrench versus quick release. I would probably lock the front wheel and the front part of the frame. Even the seat tube clamp, it's not quick release. So this is set up, I think, to already be a commuter. And then you take that battery in, there's that handle at the top, easy to carry up to your desk, charge it during the day. Don't have to worry about people tampering with it. But the new Purion display, it's really cute and compact, but it's not removable. So this is going to be on your bike all day at the rack. Maybe if someone bumps the bike into yours, you could get a little bit of scratching or something, but it's minimal, and it is adjustable angle. It's also anti-glare, and it has a dim, like bluish backlighting color, which is kind of cool. So I pressed the power button there on accident when I was swiveling it, and you can see it's on now. Let's see if we got miles per hour up top. We've got battery. This battery is brand new. It looks nice, and that's why we're using it, but it's not really very full. And then we've got the light icon because the lights are automatically on. You can press plus to go from off up to eco, tour, sport, and turbo, and you get increasing power and torque as you go up. But then you see it kind of disappears once I've clicked it, and I'm in turbo right now. In order to get some other readouts here, you hold the minus button. So hold minus for a second, and it says, okay, well here, that's the assist level you're in. Hold minus again, and it says trip distance 7 miles, total distance 7 miles, brand new bike. And then range 2. So it's saying, okay, we can probably go 2 miles in turbo. That's how low the battery is right now. 1 tick out of 5. And so I really like range because it's much more useful than just like 1 tick. I mean, that could be 20%, or that could be like 2% on the battery. Nice that you have range. Definitely appreciate that. And then that's kind of it. The older Bosch Intuvia display was bigger and mounted in the center, but I think it would collide with that light. It was removable, but I'm not sure everyone did take it off. And it had a 5-volt micro USB charging port that you could use for your phone. This one, it has that micro USB port, but I'm told that it doesn't actually put out any electricity, that it's only for diagnostics, software upgrades. So keep that in mind. You do miss out on some of those things. You can pay a little bit more to get a Bosch Intuvia, and you can actually hook that up. So if you're someone who wants to take the light off, put a different light, or maybe flip this light and then put the Bosch Intuvia, you can. But the Purion is nice for people who it's minimal, still very easy to reach, although I don't like the buttons quite as much. I've used some other beat up demo bikes, and the buttons just didn't seem as reliable as the Intuvia, but they're working great for me right now. So if you take care of it, it shouldn't be a problem. I think that's about it. I'm gonna start off in like no power mode, and I'm gonna pedal along and just show you that sound that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so stow our kickstand. You can see, pretty stiff frame. Get myself all set up. Okay, so this is no power. This is just me pedaling. And you can just hear there's a little bit more friction happening right there as I pedal along. I think that's going to be the case for any Bosch powered bike because of that internal gearbox that gives you that smaller front sprocket. But the bike's feeling really stable. And there's that multi-shift I was talking about, so I can go through several gears at once if I want. Let's see. Up to 3 gears. It's pretty cool. Now let's turn it on. I'm approaching a hill. Need a little bit more assistance to get up. So I press up to Eco. You can definitely hear it. You can hear the whining I talked about. Part of that's because I'm in a really low gear. My pedaling RPM is very high. Bosch offers some of the highest RPM assistance. I can be pedaling up to 120 rotations per minute, and I like that. As someone with a sensitive knee, I like to spin quickly, and this bike accommodates me. I'm gonna shift up. Climbing a hill at like 15 miles per hour here, no problem. And that's the idea. Today's a pretty warm day out. Cruising around, maybe I'm on my way to work. I don't want to get there and be all sweaty. So that's exactly what the e-bike is going to help me with. Whew. Still getting that cardio though. High altitude, let me tell you. The other things that I usually call out is that Bosch does have shift detection. So when I'm shifting gears, it's going to ease off a little bit. It sort of has these, it's kind of a listening system for pressure in the chain. And ideally it won't put as much stress on the chain, the sprockets, or that rear derailleur, right? But the thing is, this is pretty high-end hardware. I think it's going to hold up a little bit better between tunes, adjustments at your shop. So I noticed if you hold minus and then press the power button, it goes from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. So that's kind of cool. And if you hold minus and then press the plus button, here, let's see here, if I'm in trip and then I hold minus and press the plus button, there we go. I can reset the trip meter. So there's some other info. And then here's a look at the 3 LEDs in the rear. Of course, it's super bright out, so it's not looking great, but it's definitely better than nothing. And if you've got panniers, it's gonna stay clear of those. You're still gonna get some visibility from cars. A lot of people add lights right here, and because there's no trunk bag on top, that's gonna be good. Just watch out for your coat. If it hangs down, it can block those sometimes. So a lot of times I'll put a light, I'll clip it to my backpack or maybe my helmet just to be extra safe. Okay, you've got front row seats. I'm gonna go pretty fast. I'm gonna switch gears, so listen, because the derailleur and chain rings are right behind you. I'm also going to do some braking, just have some fun with it. Boy, that was fun. I got up to about 27 miles per hour. You do have to pedal actively. I think 28's possible, but I was in turbo. I'm in some of the higher gears. 27. Going over that bridge, I was bracing myself, but the tires, I think the fork, it actually felt really comfortable. Even the grips, you know, they're kind of ribbed. It just took the edge off. And I really appreciate that as someone with a sensitive back and neck. Going at high speed can be really tough on your body sometimes, but this bike felt really good. And of course, the brakes, we've got a skid mark going pretty far back there actually. I was trying not to skid, but I was also braking as hard as I could, trying to get that super short stopping distance. It worked pretty well. It's kind of a bird's eye view. And I'm in turbo, the highest level of assist. At 29 miles per hour there, so we were coasting downhill. Here's our turn. Very nice. Hey, this is awesome. Just made it back, had a blast on this. Stephanie Jones, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Getting all these bikes set up. We're moving on to this one. What's this one called?
The Nico Plus.
The Nico Plus. We'll check back for that one at the site. Well guys, that is the Trek Super Commuter Plus 8S. I've had a fun time. It's always cool to run into some friends on the trail. For the full write-up on this, including standover height, length, some of the other really finer details, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, have fun out there, but especially with the Speed Pedelec, ride safe, take your time.